Missouri versus Biden, most important lawsuit in the nation.
Yeah, that's in the Fifth Circuit, is it? Or that they ruled it from the Fifth Circuit, right?
Yeah, it's well, so Fifth Circuit, and it's the court case is being tried in Louisiana because when Missouri filed, Louisiana joined, which allowed it to be done there. And actually, the judge is great in the case. It's the I guess one of the things that we're always looking for is some equal application of the law. That's of course our beef with YouTube, right? I mean, there's no equal application. It's just, and then they don't even tell you. Well, that's kind of basically, if you look at social media as a whole, they weren't telling people. You just violated these policies. Well, the policies were really asks by the government. So Adam Schiff's office was asking Twitter to remove this content. Adam Schiff's office was communicating with YouTube. This guy Flaherty from the Biden administration was communicating with YouTube, and I actually, you can see in an email he brags about reducing content by 70%, and the government was upset. Like, only 70%. What the heck's wrong with you guys? I want 100%. I want these people wiped out, gone. They're nuts, and they cuss at the government people, cuss at the social media people. It's crazy. Use
Get these people off of my internet.
That's right.
Speaking of Adam Schiff, he's like my congressman, not mine, but he's one district over from me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, I because I'm working on a project that involves Armenians. So Glendale is a large Armenian population.
Yeah, my homeland.
I almost showed up at where he showed up to talk to his constituents. This was back when he was back when it was, I think, the second impeachment. And he shows up here, and I almost went to this meeting, and it was full of Armenians, and a bunch of Armenians, they straddle the political sphere, but a lot of them are real conservative, and they were getting up and calling him a liar in this meeting. I'm like, oh, I should have gone.
Okay, this was from January 9th, Neil.
The Attorney General Bailey just filed another case yesterday that was really big, and I'm trying to remember what that one is. This I like what's coming out of Missouri, man. Oh, it was involving, actually, I know what it was. It was involving something with the woke propaganda being pushed in schools.
Yeah. Okay, so hold on. Let me read this sentence real quick. Today's documents display White House Digital Director Robert Flaherty and his team's efforts to censor opposing viewpoints on major social media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So he says, I want to protect Missourians and the freedoms they enjoy, which is why, as Attorney General, I will always defend the Constitution. This case is about the Biden administration's blatant disregard for the First Amendment and its collusion to big tech media companies to suppress speech it disagrees with, Attorney General Bailey said. I will always fight back against unelected bureaucrats who seek to indoctrinate people of this state by violating our constitutional rights. So this goes into just a giant, all the rules and all that stuff, which I appreciate that this is being done. But wouldn't you say this is like a state version of what our federal government is doing right now, the Senate is doing with Twitter, the Twitter files?
Well, no, this is much more important because it's actually being tried in a court of law. One of the things that goes on with these hearings, I love the exposure the hearings bring. I want to see consequences for this. And the problem is, we hear these hearings in Congress and it's like, great. Oh, we all know this is going on. I mean, gosh, we've got Missouri versus Biden. We know it's going on. Now, does it bring more exposure to it? Yes, because nobody's following Missouri versus Biden. I've got people who are following it, I guess. And Tracy Beans has been doing a really great job covering it.
I love her too. But yesterday, I'm only saying that yesterday in the hearing, they said this is just the investigation phase. They go, later, we're going to get to the prosecution phase of the Twitter
Yes, well, let's hope that's actually true, because we don't see that really typically happening in Congress. I will say this too, Doug. I don't know if you noticed, but Jim Jordan had asked the Court of Appeals for all the documents relating to Missouri versus Biden. And one of the things you had up there on the screen, it was talking about Flaherty, but for example, and if you guys want like how God works in mysterious ways in a perfect case of poetic justice, Flaherty had asked for COVID misinformation to be, censored. Mm-hmm. Well, what happened then was This was an ask at Instagram. So Instagram set up an algorithm. This is so beautiful to basically suppress this information
which they have to do because they can't go into individual accounts. So they have to do it at the programming level. They can't go into 100,000 accounts and go in and hand adjudicate and cut down things. So they have to set up some kind of a script.
Well, although they can go into specific large accounts, they
can and they do. But I'm saying that doesn't stop the problem of millions of tiny ones doing what they call dangerous misinformation.
Yes. And so that's like a system-wide setting. So they set this up system-wide. And then what happened was it was pushing Joe Biden's stuff down. And he wasn't being seen and he wasn't gaining followers. And that's where Flaherty really lost his marbles, man, in the email exchange. That's where he said, because he's like, I'll give you the exchange. He goes, Flaherty asks, hey, what's wrong with POTUS? We're not gaining followers. What's wrong? What's going on with this account? And they're like, so then no one got back to him right away.
Yeah.
And then his next email, this isn't a rhetorical question. It came a couple hours later. And then somebody gets back and says, we're looking into that. We don't have an answer for you right now.
Because he's spreading disinformation. The algorithm is suppressing.
So then they didn't tell him specifically. A couple days later, they get back to him. They're like, we've looked into it. We found the problem. I can't get into the details of it right now, but we're getting it fixed. And then Flaherty really lost it. That's where he started pulling out Effenheimers. Are you effing kidding me? This is unacceptable. Yeah. I want to know. I want to know now.
This is the same problem that YouTube had. So, because I come out of video games, right? So we deal with programmers, mass media programmers all the time. You go in and you change one piece of code and you can destroy like your whole system. You can screw up the entire platform. And the platforms are just human beings. I know that everyone treats them, they're incredibly powerful, like beyond what you can imagine, but they're not incredibly under their control. And you see this with Twitter trying to fix things. They break things every time they fix something because the code is all a giant kludge. It's an octopus, like the size of like 20 skyscrapers of information that they've been kludging and changing all along. And there's employees that can change one little line of code that could go after one account, but it could have repercussions all over the place. So when YouTube, when they started like banning the name Trump and election, right, would automatically flag an account or even shadow ban it, like where just you stop getting views. Well, Rachel Maddow is making fun of Trump and the elections, and suddenly her channel gets demonetized for the same reason. So they can't, it's very hard for them to go in, and they're very reluctant to do a system-wide algorithm change on a word because they're really just trying to control one point of view, but it hits both if they're not careful. So that's what happened with Biden, is if they go in and try and stop people from doing this certain COVID misinformation, when Biden goes out and goes, I'm going to stop COVID, like his channel would probably just go shut down. So no views and no subscribers. And that's why Flaherty's going like, look, fix this, give his account a pass, but still go after everyone else.
Yeah. Well, Biden wasn't just going to fix COVID. He fixed it, man. I'm telling you.
No, he fixed it all right. So this Missouri versus Biden, we're going to get some news on it. I'm only upset that it's weird because all of these lawsuits, including the Twitter files in the Senate,
yes,
they all mention Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and none of them mention Google and Google.
Oh, it's in
YouTube.
Missouri versus Biden. I mean, that's
I'm looking at the document right now. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, you got to look at the whole big filing document. So, like for example, in there was another email exchange with Flaherty. That's when he talked about, he was asking about COVID, and YouTube responded that they had suppressed these accounts up to 70% suppression. So this is one of those things.
And I know about YouTube has released this information that they were bragging, like it was a huge credit to them when they said, we're getting better and better at stopping misinformation. They didn't mean against Republicans, but we know what it means. They go, we're getting better and better at stopping misinformation before it's even posted, and we're down to like a 70% coverage now. That can only be done at the algorithm level because they're talking about 400,000 YouTube channels. And so every time we get a yellow dollar sign or we get a video demonetized or whatever, that's what goes into their credit for. They stopped another piece of disinformation from going out.
Oh, bravo, baby. Bravo.
8 a.m. Pacific time. I do a Bible show, so I jump out of here at 8 to go. Anybody who wants to go through the Bible in a year, Bible every morning on YouTube, we listen to 3 or 4 chapters of the Bible, and then I comment. It's a half an hour show, so I'm jumping to that right now. It's nice to meet you, Neil.
Nice to meet you too.
And I'm gonna go spend time with God.
Yeah, go.
I'll see you next week, Doug.
Go read the Bible with your people. Thanks for joining us, Michael. This is Michael Sweet Home Maricopa. Go give him a sub on YouTube.
Thanks for watching this clip of Doug Q. Michael. To watch this entire episode, follow the link in the description below. Click the link to go to Rumble now.